There's never a most challenging in the restaurant world. Every day is gonna present some challenge. All right. It was a struggle at first with age.
Hi, how are you
but
doing?
now I have to come to the reality that the responsibility is the same whether I'm 23 or whether I'm 82. There's not a lot of people that
You're welcome.
look like me in the neighborhood, running these spaces, running restaurants. I look forward to being able to shift the narrative.
Yeah, we have a few.
They could be peeled and cut and then put into a container. I didn't necessarily think that I would come into the food world, but that sacred space is so warm within me. My first memories of food is heavily centered around my relationship with my grandmother. She used to spend half of the year in Belize and then half of the year in the States. So when she would come up, it was like, okay, there's a lot of cooking happening. She was a large part of the community because she fed the community. So a lot of the way that I make food is modeled after understanding that feeding people in your community is more than just having a restaurant. It's more than making the food. We're taking part in the nourishment of the people that are around us and sustaining the people that are around us. And it'll be ready shortly. Soul Sips came about in its own way that was completely just me needing to take care of myself. I had moved out, going to college, and then when I came out into my independence, I was scrambling. I didn't know how to take care of myself. I realized that a lot of me taking care of myself was gonna depend on what I'm eating, what I'm drinking. My focus is really nutrient-dense foods that are filling, that are accessible, and that are also really gonna provide energy. I designed these drinks that were liquid forms of nutrients, and friends and family, they'd just be like, you should sell the drinks, you should make it a business. And it seemed very far-fetched at the time. So 2015 to 2017, it was all just pop-ups. And then there was just an opportunity that came up on Craigslist. Three-month pop-up for the winter time, a local restaurateur that has a few restaurants in the neighborhood. We came in here knowing that it's the dead of winter, knowing that, there's so many odds against us. And a few months in, the person that owned the space had, looked around and he's like, wow, you're using the space much better than I had ever imagined I'd be able to use it. Do you want to just buy the space? It's just really wild to me still. It's really, really, really wild. And I'm still digesting that it's a year and 7 months later. I didn't expect to be here. Delana, there's marinara up there. I don't consider myself a chef. I consider myself a tastemaker because a restaurant and being able to just cook, two different things. Do you have tempeh already made? The physical labor of a restaurant, that's something that I had to get used to. That was the most challenging, and our kitchen is 50 square feet. Hello, how are you doing? And that's another thing too, the food takes long. It was something that I was really hard on myself about in the beginning. There's no fillers, there's no additives. A lot of the food is spiritual, a lot of the food is healing. And that's my intention when I come into the food. I also want to reconstruct our way about thinking about how food is prepared from the time that it's touched to the time that it goes into your stomach. So a lot of that is just like having to touch the food, having to be with the food. It's important to me. These are the Chik'N Biscuit. The most popular item on the menu is our Chik'N Biscuit sandwich. From the creation process to like when everyone found out about it, there were like people that were like lines in the door, and I'm like, what's happening? Literally, like every order is the Chik'N Biscuit sandwich. Like I was about to turn into a Chik'N Biscuit because I had to make so many of those. It's a biscuit that's a chia seed turmeric that we get made for us from our baker. And then we make our oyster mushroom into chicken, essentially. So we season it and batter it and fry it in grapeseed oil because it's one of the healthiest oils. And then we put the jam on it. That's also made from scratch. It's a house raspberry jam. There's some avocado on it to just like add a little bit of creaminess. We press it in a waffle iron so it looks like it's like a waffle. I would say that that's my most creative dish yet. So I do look forward to, making something even greater, but the Chik'N Biscuit is definitely the biggest hit. Aside from the Chik'N Biscuit sandwich, the avocado mushroom melt is really, really, really popular. That came to be because it reminded me of a quesadilla. It's seasoned mushrooms, sauteed, and then it has mozzarella, coconut-based cheese on it. The way that the seasoning and the cheese melts over the mushrooms, it creates like this marinade. And then once you bite into it, you taste the seasonings automatically. So I believe that's what makes it an appealing dish, and that's why I really like it as well. For me, the impact that my grandmother has on the space is just like no one gets turned away. Here you go, Graham. Thanks for your patience. Everyone can have an intentional meal at least once a week. So we do sliding scale brunch on Saturdays. And the way the sliding scale brunch works is you come in and you choose what you want to pay between $7 and $15 and you get a full meal. And that's just really like a principle because when my grandmother cooked, everyone ate. I was 18 when I started Toll Sips. 21 is when I opened the brick and mortar pop-up, which is essentially, it's this space. And now I'm 23. Finishing up cheesy rice breakfast burrito. I was in school and running the business. And then my junior year, I took a hiatus the second semester. So right now, I'm here and I'm dedicated to the space. Owner is still a weird title for me too because I think it's just a lot of like connotation that comes with that. But being a young woman of color, running a restaurant, being a tastemaker, it's nuanced because I do feel like the food industry in general, there's not so much visibility around us. Can you hand that over to Delana? And then Delana, can you? I eventually want to be able to invest into women of color owned businesses to be able to bridge that gap. Coming into the second year of the restaurant, coming into just like developing a repertoire for the brand and the food and the drinks, it speaks for itself more than it speaks for my age. The triumphs and the trials are all embedded in the space, and it's all embedded in the truth of what we're creating. It's still really surreal, but it's like really, really beautiful to make the food from an intentional place and to be able to like follow in the footsteps of the people that came before me.